Thank you for joining us today for the LKC Medicine live talk. I'm Associate Professor Wong Teck Yee, Assistant Dean for Year 4, and joining me today are our two medical students, Xuan and Yuan.
Hello.
Okay, so for this talk, I'll spend the first 15 minutes giving an overview of our MBBS degree program that has been established jointly with Imperial College London. I will be sharing also on the admission requirements and application process. I will then hand over the session to Wenxuan and Weiyuan, who will share their experience on life as LKC medicine students. We've set aside about 30 minutes for a Q&A session after the live talk. We know you have a lot of questions, so keep those questions coming via the Slido link, aside from the usual Facebook and Instagram platforms. We will try to answer all the commonly asked questions during the Q&A session. If your questions are not addressed, do send us a direct message and we'll try to reply to you soon. Right, so let's start. Okay, so the MBBS curriculum at LKC Medicine is a 5-year program. It's a joint award by Imperial College London and NTU, and our primary clinical partner is the National Healthcare Group. The new curriculum development, it was developed collaboratively between London and Singapore. There was a strong foundation in basic sciences, and we have early contact with patients in our early years. So this is an overview of the curriculum. Now you can see that there are 3 domains. The first domain that we have is what we call the scientific basis of medicine. After that, the second domain is on clinical management and patient-centered care. And the last domain is on healthcare delivery and professional standards. So when the students first join LKC Medicine, we concentrate on the first domain. After that, we move them on to the second domain, which is the clinical management and patient-centered care. Then lastly, they will learn about healthcare delivery and also about professional standards. We have here the 5 years of the medical school which the students will go through. So you can see that for year 1 and year 2 is integrated science in a medical context. I will talk about it a little bit more. In year 3, year 4, and year 5 is where they go to the clinical environment. So they're going to be learning about core clinical medicine in year 3, medicine for all stages of life in diverse settings in year 4, and also how to prepare to be a doctor in the final year. Okay, so this is a slide showing what a typical the student will go through in year 1 and year 2. Now, just to show you that what our students learn by body blocks. So for example, in year 1, they start off with learning the foundations of medicine. Then they move on to the cardiorespiratory block. And in each block, they will learn the anatomy, the biochemistry, the physiology associated with the body system. Then it goes on to year 1, there's the exams at the end of year 1. And then after that, in year 2, the same thing happens again. The students will learn from different blocks, which are different from year 1. And you can see that the exams at year 1 and year 2, now at the end of year 1, the exam is a written paper, but for year 2, the exams is both a written and a clinical exam. Right, and then we have early patient contact. We have anatomy practicals during in year 1 and year 2. Okay, so year 3 is where the students will leave after they've learned their basic sciences. They'll move on to the hospital and to the clinical setting, where they'll learn medicine, surgery, and also short postings. So the short postings includes infectious disease, ENT, eye, skin, and anesthesia. Right. We have campus teaching week. So while they're out in the different clinical settings, they can come back to LKC Medicine, where they have the campus teaching week. The whole class comes together, where we reinforce teaching, and also they have core tutors during the postings when they're out in the clinical settings. Okay, year 4. So year 4 is the year that I'm in charge of. Year 4 starts with what we call a scholarly project. It's a 6-week project where the students have to embark on a research project. So it could be a clinical research project, could be a lab-based research project, and they need to hand up an assignment at the end of the 6 weeks. Year 4 is also very interesting because the students will actually get to go to different places. For example, they will learn at different stages of life. So for example, they will learn about pediatrics, they'll learn about obs and gynae, They will go to the community where they have family medicine. They also have rehab medicine and also psychiatry. So these are all the different specialty that they will encounter in year 4, and then at the end of it there'll be exams. And for final year, this is something which I think by the time the students reach this stage, I think all of them are looking forward to graduating. So after they finish year 4, there's a short break. Then they go for their overseas elective and selectives. So electives are what the students do when they go out of the country. Selectives are places where they apply to go to in Singapore. So departments that they apply to go to in Singapore. So for example, if they like psychiatry, for example, and then they want to learn a bit more, they can actually do a selective in psychiatry. After that, something that's quite unique to us is a safe prescribing week, where we get our students to learn about safe prescribing as a junior doctor. After that, it would be what we call integrated care medicine and integrated care surgery. This is actually a revision for what they have learned in years 3 and year 4 to prepare for the final exams. So the final exams will be in January of the year. So for example, our current year 5 batch, they have finished the final exam, and after that they will do a student assistantship program. So what's different is that after they have already passed the final exam, they still need to do this part where they go to the hospital or they go to the polyclinic, where they have to learn how to be a doctor. So they have certain tasks that they need to fulfill, and there's a sign off before we finally graduate our students. Okay, so a little bit about the teaching pedagogy. I think the students will cover on this. We are very heavy on digital learning and team-based learning. So there are no lectures at LKC Medicine. Almost all the materials are delivered via team-based learning. In year 1 and year 2, we actually lay the foundation for clinical and communication skills. So we have this module called the Foundations of Clinical Practice, where our students learn to examine and interact with simulated patients. And they also examine with on simulated patients in year 2 before they move on to seeing real patients and interacting with real patients in year 3s, 4, and 5. Anatomy, I think later our students will share a little bit of anatomy. Suffice to say, it's something that we are doing it a little bit different. We use plastinated specimen. We also use ultrasound to teach functional anatomy. The early patient contact. So this is something which is quite unique in LKC Medicine. I think for the first month of medical school in year 1, we actually let our students go to the hospital and to the polyclinic. The purpose is not to learn medicine, because at the first year, the first month, the first year, they don't really know much, but actually to get them to have an experience of what is it like to be working in this the healthcare setting in Singapore, and also to get them to know some of the roles of the different healthcare professionals at these sites. And I mentioned about science practical, data analysis classes, and also scholarly projects. So all this happens between year 1 to year 5. Okay, so this is our clinical partners. As you can see, we have 15 healthcare institutions that the students are attached to. It's actually everywhere in Singapore. So sometimes the students, especially when they're in year 4, where they have to travel to different places, sometimes they get a bit confused where they need to go. But this is something that's part and parcel of being a junior doctor, because you will be posted to different institutions once you graduate. Okay, so this is something that we hope all our graduates have. Okay, that means they must be prepared for all medical careers. They need to be caring, competent, knowledgeable. I think teamwork is important. They need to know how to work in the team. They need to have excellent communication skills. As you can see, that we have practicals and scholarly projects to ensure that they have these scholarly habits of inquiry. I think we are very heavy into digital learning, so digital literacy. I think last but not least, we want them to be creative and we want them to be adaptable. Okay, so these are some of our alumni who are doing well. I think, well, it's for me personally, I think it's quite heartening to bump into some of our students in the hospitals and to know that they are doing well. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about the partnership. So we have the degrees are jointly awarded by Imperial College and also by NTU. So there's Imperial representation on all our education committees and also at our examinations. And there's a joint Transform MedEd conference next month. We have also Imperial-led quality assurance reviews and also multiple levels of student interactions. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the admission to LKC Medicine, just to say that if you have missed anything in this slide, all the details and all the information are actually on our website, right? Okay, so what do we look for? We look for candidates with good academic qualifications. We look at candidates with good BMAT scores. After that, we invite suitable candidates to come in for a multiple mini interview. Okay, so this is a slide of the admission process. We are now in the online application has, I think, just opened. So, and then we will be selecting candidates for our MMI somewhere in mid-March, mid-April. Okay, so these are the application dates for AY 2020 to 21. I think for A-level candidates is from 21st of February to 19th of March. For Polytechnic is 1st to 21st of February, and then for IB is 15th of October to 19th of March. Again, all this are on our website. Okay, academic qualifications. For A levels, you need a H2 pass in chemistry and a pass in either bio or physics. So you need to take all the subjects at one sitting. And for IB, you need a pass in HL chemistry and either HL biology or physics. So for the rest, they're on the slide. Just to say that chemistry is a subject that's compulsory. I think this is something that we used to ask about biology. It's not a compulsory subject for application to LKC Medicine. And these are the dates for BMAT 2020. So registrations open on the 1st of September, and the deadline is 1st of October for the standard fee and 15th of October for the late fee. And then the test date is on the 4th of November, right? Only BMAT in the 12-month period will be accepted for our selection process. These are the indicative BMAT scores for different sections. I think between the 10th and 90th centile, so you can see the ranges for our 2019-2020 cohort. Okay, there's this aptitude-based admissions. These are for applicants who are concerned about the competitiveness of their scores, but have exceptional talents and outstanding achievements beyond schools' CCAs, right? So this is not applied separately, but applied as part of the admissions application. And you need to submit an essay of not more than 300 words and provide an additional referee. Okay, I'm going to cover the multiple mini interviews. These are some of the domains that are covered between personal motivation, problem solving, and teamwork skills. Okay. The school fees for 2019-2020 was 34,000. The 20 for Singapore citizens, for PR is 48,000, and for international students is 74,000. The AY 2020-21 tuition fees will be published on the website in due course. Okay, we have financial aid available. So these are the qualifying criteria for financial aid. Again, all this is on the website. You can look at it. If you have any questions, further questions, feel free to contact us, and we'll be happy to answer any further questions that you may have. For scholarships, outstanding candidates are encouraged to apply for the following scholarships during the admission period. So the scholarships are awarded based on competition amongst our shortlisted candidates. So you can see that these are the list of scholarships that we have at LKC Medicine. Okay, so these are some of the brochures, some of the publications from the school. You can scan this for the e-brochures, right? Scan this QR code for the e-brochures. All right, that's all I have. Now I'm going to pass over to Wen Xuan and Yuan for the part, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Prof Wong. So I'm Xuan, and I'm a year 1 medical student. So both Yuan and I will be covering about the student life in LKC. So it's a representative of what you can expect if you come into medical school. So I'll be covering mostly on the preclinical years, which are the year 1 and 2. Then Yuan will be covering the clinical years, which are years 3 to 5. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so for preclinical years, at the start, we will be having polyclinic week and hospital week. So what hospital week is that we'll be separated into teams, and then we'll go into various hospitals around Singapore and into different departments, and we shadow the doctors as well as the healthcare professionals to see what life is like as a healthcare professional. Then for polyclinic week, like what Prof Wong just said, we will be doing a lot on communication with patients. And this is very important for us because it will also benefit us in the clinical years in the future, and also as well as our career as a doctor. Yeah. And also what was covered previously was that we have system-based learning, and we are heavily team-based learning and self-directed learning. So we actually do our own studies, and we have online lectures where we study the content, and then we come into class as teams, and then we discuss together. Yeah. And for system-based learning, it means that we are studying different body parts at once. So we specialize in we learn specially like in different body parts. So in year 1, we do have systems like foundation of medicine, cardiorespiratory, as well as renal endocrine. And for year 2, we have gastrointestinal, nervous system, as well as the female reproductive system, just to name a few. Yeah, so it's separated into different systems. So we go in depth into different systems during every block. Yeah. So anatomy. In LKC, we do use plastinated specimens, plastic models, Anatomage Table. So the reason why we use this over the preserved cadavers in formaldehyde is that first of all, it does not stink. And secondly, it preserves the natural colour of the body itself, and it's longer lasting. And for the Anatomage Table, it's very special, it's digital. And what's good about that is that you can actually see the different body parts and sections in different planes. So you can actually cut it in different planes like sagittal or transverse. Yeah, so you can actually see the transition between the different body parts, and it's very interactive as well. And it allows you to see the relations of the different body parts or wherever you want to see. Then other than anatomy, we do have histology, where we see real life slides under microscopes. So it's like what you see on the top right corner. So we'll see things like that, and we'll go in depth on the different cells that are present in each system. And then as we'll have practical lab sessions as well. So it works like the science practical in JC. So what's different is that we do write reports, and I feel that it's a very good start to having the foundation for your year 4 scholarly projects. And for clinical skills, we do learn them as well, even though we are in preclinical years. So we learn things like history taking, physical examination, and practical skills, because all these are skills that we actually need in the long run. And it's not just only beneficial from, like, we don't only learn from clinical years, we do start practicing them from year 1 onwards, so that we do know how to talk to patients properly, and we do know how to explain things to people properly. And it's a very important skill to have, which the school actually honed in us since year 1. Okay, so now I'll pass on to Yuan to talk about the clinical years.
Okay, hi, so I'm Yuan. So I myself just started my clinical years about 6 months ago. And I would say that it's a very, very enjoyable jump from preclinical years to clinical years, because you can finally see what you have learned in the first 2 years being put into practice, and you can see how doctors actually interact with patients. So how things are being done in general is that the whole cohort is split into about teams of 6 to 7 students, and we are posted to various institutions across the nation. So while the hospital that we work the most closely with is probably Tan Tock Seng, but students are not deprived of like the other hospitals as well, as we have teams being posted to Sengkang, to Changi, and Ng Teng Fong, just to name a few of them. So how we learn things in the clinical years, there are through many different platforms. So firstly, as you can see, we have the ward rounds. What we do in ward rounds is that students, they follow a team of doctors when they walk around the wards to see patients. and we get to see how the doctors manage and communicate with patients in the wards. We also have clinic sessions. So what happened is, students sit in the clinics and see how doctors arrive at a diagnosis when they talk to a new patient. And this is also a very good opportunity for us to practice our physical examination skills as well. We also have tutorials, so they are both didactic and bedside tutorials. If you are curious what bedside tutorial is, maybe one or two of you seeing this may have been subject of this. So what happened is that a doctor will bring the team to see a patient and after obtaining his or her consent, then the doctor will go through the condition on the spot with the student, and we'll learn about the condition right there and then. We also get to do several procedural skills such as blood taking and inserting a catheter, and this will make sure that we are competent when we exit into the workforce. Last but not least, we have the SimTech. It's quite interesting. So this is actually a simulation center for students to learn in a very safe environment. So you can see on the picture on the top, it's a very high technological mannequin, I would say. So it can talk to you, it can show some signs, and you can practice your skills through that. So now Wen and I have finished talking about the academic aspect of LKC. Now we move on to the school aspect, which is equally important as well. So I'm sure some of you will be wondering about the overseas experience in LKC, what we'll be going through. So first on the list, we have the Year 2 Imperial Exchange Program. So this is actually a very good opportunity for students. We get to go to London for about 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, and you get to experience what a medical school in London is like. One thing I wanted to highlight is that this trip is heavily subsidized for by the school, so students do not have to worry about the cost. And another amazing opportunity that we have is through the Year 5 elective program. So this is a 6 weeks program, and students get to go to just any hospital they want to across the entire world. So we have seniors going to Taiwan, Australia, South Africa. And as long as your application approved at the school, the options are really unlimited.
Yep. So other than within the LKC itself, we are actually students of NTU. So we do participate in NTU-wide activities as well. So first of all, we have inter-school games. So this was actually held late last year. And what we do is that different faculties will actually send out their athletes to go and compete with each other in various sports. So in the picture behind, you can see that was me participating in the choke ball for medicine. Yeah. And other than that, for school events and house events, it can be the Inter-House Cup, where similar to the inter-school games, but it's within the medicine faculty itself. So in medicine, we do have 5 different houses, and in the Inter-House Cup, it's where the 5 different houses will actually come together to compete with each other against various activities, be it sports or unsports, and game show. Yeah. So all these foster bonding among the students ourselves, and it makes us not just heavily focus on studies per se. We do actually have fun. And one good thing is that we don't have physical lectures, and we focus a lot on our self-directed learning. So we actually have a lot of our own time to pursue whatever we want. So I have friends who actually do sports, or they pursue other things like art. Yeah. So it's their own interest, and yeah, you are free to pursue them even if you are a medical student.
Moving on to the house system, I would say that the house system is quite an integral part of LKC. So what happened in the house system is that there are 5 houses in LKC, and students will be split into the 5 houses. Then within the house itself, it's further split into house families. So these house families are just even smaller groups of about 4 to 5 students.
Yeah.
Right. So this house system is a very good source of friendship, I would say. So personally for me, I have a very great house family. So you see the picture on the left, that's me and my house fam. It's my 2 house brothers and my house sister, and we are very tight. We do a lot of things together. We go on overseas trip, we study together, exercise together, and they are just a very important part of medical school life. And honestly, without this house system, I would not have them as my friends. Yeah. So other than being a source of friendship, the house system is also very important because it is a very, very strong support system. So the house family, it does not include our own batch. It includes the seniors and the juniors as well. What this means for us is that there's always a senior that we can look out for when we need advice in medical school. For me personally, when I was transitioning from a preclinical student to year 3 student, my house parents, which are the house seniors, they actually came down and gave us very personalized talks to tell us what to do, and even brought us to the hospitals to induct us into the system. So other than the house family part, how the house system contribute to the support system is also that there is this thing called a house tutor. So house tutors are just senior staff in LKC. They're in charge of about 5 to 6 students, and they will constantly check in on us every 3 months or so to make sure that we are doing well and coping well in school. And last on the list is house events. So as mentioned by Wenjun earlier, it's just a time for us to have a lot of fun and to bond with our housemates.
Okay, so going on to CIP. So aside from studying from your lectures, what we do is we actually put them out into practice. And so there are various platforms for the LKC students to put this into place. So first of all, it will be community health, where it is in the local setting. And if you are looking for a longer commitment of 2 years or so, you can look forward to overseas CIP, where the team will go overseas to benefit different groups of people. So they do have different projects, for cataract or for ONG. So actually, based on what you are interested in, you can actually choose to participate in the different local CIP or the overseas CIP. So what's so special about this is that all these are led by students, and all the projects are actually executed by the students as well, under the guidance of some staffs. Yeah. So this actually hones our leadership skills, because we are actually in charge of the projects itself. So we know how to solve problems when they come, because it won't be very smooth all the time. So it's actually a very good platform for us to actually reach out to the community as well as to build our character as well. And for establishing relationship, it's not just within ourselves, but it's also from us to the community, what we can give to them in the long term. Because all these beneficiaries, we don't do it for 1 or 2 years or 1 or 2 times. We actually do it in the long run to make sure that it's sustainable for them. Yeah, so we make sure that there's this rapport built between the medicine community as well as to the public. Yeah, or to the global community as well. Yeah.
Okay, lastly, I will talk about just school life in general, because if you're joining us, of course, you're subscribing yourselves to NTU as well. Firstly, in terms of uni, that's of course a very wide array of CCA that you can choose from.
Yeah.
The details of which I won't go through because you can look at the school website. But I think one thing I would like to highlight is, as Wenchen mentioned earlier, because our schedule is so flexible, there's really no issue between juggling a uni CCA and whatever you have in medical school. So for me, I have a good friend of mine, Brittany. So she is the touch shot captain right now, and the fact that as a medical student, you think that this is not like physically possible. Spending so much time on a CCA. She spends about 4 times a week training, and she's a captain somehow. So the fact that she can do that really shows that there's a lot of time for you to really time manage, and this schedule of us is really good for you in that sense. Another aspect I'll talk about is the hall life. So students in students from LKC, we are guaranteed a hall space in NTU, and we are all sent to this one cluster of halls. So what this means is that you can constantly find out time anytime you want to, and that's really great. And also, other than that, the halls that we have offer a wide variety of activities. So the hall I stay in, Pioneer Hall, we have jam band, we have sports. I myself joined hall dance for 2 years, and I think it's great because I made friends out of medical school as well. So that's the end of our presentation on school life. So now pass the time back to Prof Wong.
Okay, thanks guys. Okay, we will now proceed with the Q&A session. I think we have collated the commonly asked questions from our Slido link at the NTU Open House microsite and social media channel. So let's have a look at the first question. Okay, this is a good question. What are the traits, aspects you look for when accepting students. Maybe I'll give a go with this first, and then I'll pass on to the students. What I say. I think one of the first thing the students need to know is that medicine is a demanding course. So I think they have to be ready for a lot of hard work, a lot of sacrifices, and they are ready to go the distance. I think that's something that we are looking for in our students. We also are looking for students who are clear about what they will hope to achieve after leaving medical school. I think we hope that our students are trained well, receive a good training in LKC medicine, and then they are able to do whatever they wish to do in the future. So I think the foundation for them is important, and the fact that they are, I think also something that we want our students to have is somebody who is a lifelong learner. When we are, like for example, at this period during this coronavirus epidemic, this period, I think our students, if they're in the hospital setting now, they'll be asked to do different things that they may not be trained for. So again, I think somebody with an open mind, somebody willing to learn, I think these are some of the main traits that we're looking for. That's for me personally. Maybe I'll ask our students, what do you think?
I feel that as a medical student, it's very important for you to find your motivation why you come into medical school. Know your reasons well, because in this whole 5 years, you may, get caught up with different stuffs, then you may lose your own reason why you actually enter medical school. And it's also very important for you to be to have good time management as well, because you see there are a lot of opportunities you can have. So from what we talked about just now, it's just a wide range of activities aside from academic aspect as well. Yeah. And thirdly, you must be caring. Really, you must be able to put people first and to really genuinely want to care for them and to really want to take care of them. Yeah, because it's a lifelong journey. Yeah, it's not just the 5 years. After you graduate, this continues on for the rest of the career. Yeah.
Okay, that's well put. Let's move on to the next question. So the question is, what's the intake for this year? I think the intake for this year is 150, like last year. Okay, the next question is, I'm concerned about the tuition fees for medicine. There's mentioned that there's much support will be given to medical students from this year onwards. Any information on the enhanced bursaries this year? All the information I mentioned will be found on our website. Feel free to look at the website. However, if you have any questions about the details on the bursary, please contact the school, and then we will be able to give you the information that you require. Right? How important is the BMed score as compared to A-level results? Okay, I think the question is that for how do we use these scores to select students to come into LKC medicine? We require both. So if you are, let's say you are A-level student, we require you to have a good A-level results and a good BMed score. And using these two scores, we will select candidates for the MMI process. So in terms of importance, I think both are as important. You cannot have one and not the other. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Applicants aim for job shadowing to help with the applicants, but this is now being suspended. Will it affect applicants' chances for admission? Maybe I'll just ask, did any of you do any job shadowing before coming to LKC medicine?
I did actually.
Okay, maybe
So both of us did.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. What were your experiences with that?
The experiences in
Yeah.
job shadowing. I'll say that for myself personally, the job shadowing is actually more for me to find out whether the medical career is more for me, rather than for this whole thing. Because I think on one side you think that being a doctor is a very good job, but you really need to get down to it for you to actually understand whether this path is suitable for you. So actually that's my main aim for doing the job attachment and shadowing. But I think for the experience wise, I don't think it's required for the school application, because from what I understand, there are students who do not do any shadowing at all. In fact, there are quite a few students. I have a lot of friends who don't do any shadowing at all, but they still get into medical school. And at the same time, there are friends who have went for shadowing and do not get into medical school.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately for application process, it really boils down to how you perform in the interview itself.
Okay, so exactly what Yuan has said is not a requirement for application to LKC medicine, but it's more for the applicant to have a look into the life of what a healthcare professional entails and whether the life is it suitable for you or not, right, to be a doctor. So I think the short answer is yes. It's important for the candidate to decide whether they want to come into medical school, but not a requirement for application to LKC medicine. Okay, next question. Can I reapply to medicine next year if unsuccessful in the interview? If so, what criteria do I need to meet? And do I need to apply through the aptitude-based application scheme? I think you can apply to LKC medicine. And if so, what criteria do I need to apply? I don't think the aptitude-based application scheme is like what I mentioned is for candidates who have concerns about their grades. So I think if you are applying again, you use your your previous A-level scores or your previous IB scores, but you need to have a new BMAT score. The reason is that the BMAT is only applicable for 1 year, right? And then as for the aptitude-based admission, I think you need to look at the website for more information, but we'll be happy to answer any questions regarding this if this applies to you in future. Okay, this is an interesting question. Will the MMI be conducted online or done differently this year due to COVID-19? Currently, as things stand, we are still going ahead with the current format of the MMI. I know we have discussions about how best to conduct the MMI this year, but we think that it's important that we have a look at our candidates. So as far as I'm concerned, it will be the same as previous years, but we have taken certain precautions to ensure that for the safety of both the applicants and also our interviewers. Do any of the questions posed in the MMIs require any prior medical knowledge? If yes, how can one make preparations for this aspect? Okay, maybe I'll ask our students. Do you need? Do you remember your MMI interview? Do you need any prior medical knowledge? Maybe
from my own experience, I don't think I had prior medical knowledge, because actually the school looks more on your character and to see whether you are suitable for this course, because it's not only about your knowledge. Yeah, the knowledge is actually posed in, like, you can show your knowledge through your A-level results or your IB results and your BMAT. So actually what the school is more concerned in the MMI, in my own opinion, would be that they are looking for your character traits more. Yeah, which is why I think Prof Wong actually said that they will actually want to have a look at the students. Yeah.
Yuan, do you remember your MMI?
It's quite a while back, but I think if I didn't have any medical knowledge as well, frankly speaking, when I did my MMI. I think perhaps what you can do is just to, sounds very iffy, but just understand yourself well. Make sure that you know who as a person, because you really want your character to shine through the interview.
Okay. Actually, that's not as iffy as what you think. I think for the MMIs, you don't actually require any prior medical knowledge, but we'll be asking you questions on certain scenarios, for example, and we want you to tell us about yourself, give us the answer of what you think is the best approach, and then from there maybe we can learn a little bit about yourselves, what you think, what is your thought process. So that's, again, I think that's what they meant by who you are and what the real person that you are, right? So we want you to be frank with us, and also to just have a discussion with the different interviewers that you encounter. Okay, The question is, would there be a makeup interview? Should there be a conflict in schedule? I think for the with NS training, so I think for the last few years, we have always tried to accommodate candidates who are in national service. So that included coming back for the weekends or on days that they are able to make it due to the training schedule. So not to be too worried about this. We will actually, for all the candidates that we have shortlisted, we ensure that they will have the chance to go through the selection process. Okay, so this question says, for NSF who will POP soon, we don't know whether we'll be able to disrupt NS to pursue medical studies. Hence, do we submit our scholarship and admission application together, or do we submit our admission application first and then submit our scholarship application after disruption is approved? I presume, I left NS quite a long time ago, so I presume POP in passing out parade, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that means finishing the BMT, the basic medical training. Okay, whether you get disrupted for NS is not up to the school, it's up to the Ministry of Defence, right? So because the other, the Ministry of Defence, you apply to medical school when you're in NS, and then we will, if you are admitted or to LKC Medicine, we'll submit the names to MINDEF, and the MINDEF will tell us who are the people who will be disrupted. So as far as I'm concerned, at this point in time, you don't have to worry whether you will be deferred or not. You just apply through the process and then come to the, if you are selected to come for MMI, and if you one of the candidates who are selected to come into medical school, then you will wait for MINDEF to let you know whether you'll be disrupted or not. How are the polytechnic kids who have made it to LKC Medicine coping? Are they having an exceptionally more difficult time as compared to the JC kids?
Prof Wong Teck Yee, I think I can answer to this question.
Yes.
So I have actually one of my house friends is from Polytechnic. So sorry for that.
Maybe we work in the Polytechnic.
Yeah, sorry, too much medical stuff. Yeah, but one of my friends are from Polytechnic, and the very simple answer is no, they are not having a more difficult time. In fact, so this friend of mine, I think he studied something related to the immune system back in his poly days. So in fact, when he came to medical school, he had easier time compared to us because he learned about some things before. So I think if you are a Polytechnic kid who want to come to LKC, don't worry, just trust yourself. You'll be very competent, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, well said. I don't think I need to answer that question anymore. Okay, this is a question about students. Do students choose the members of their own team-based learning group, or is the team-based learning group chosen for them? Are students stuck in one TBL group throughout the years or rotated? So just for those of you who don't know, when the students come into LKC Medicine, they are all grouped into TBL groups or teams, and then they will be with this team group for 1 year. Then subsequent years, they will change teams. So maybe I'll ask one of you guys to give us your thoughts about this.
So first of all, right, we don't choose our own teams. Yeah, the school actually team the whole cohort into different teams, and we'll be with each other for only 1 year. So we'll keep changing every year, and those subsequent years as well, we don't get to choose them. And this, I think it's important that the school actually team the teams together for us, because if we choose our own teammates, we will definitely choose people we are comfortable with. And in the medical scene next time when we graduate, you don't get to choose who you want to work with, and you should be working well with anyone that you are teamed with. Yeah, so it's actually very important to let the school actually team us so that we know how to work with different types of people. Yeah.
So I think we had a discussion when the school first started. We have a discussion on whether to keep the teams constant for, especially in year 1 and year 2. But we thought that it's important that our students get to know different people in the class. So, and I think the students will tell you that when they are in teams, they're actually very cliquish. They do things together. They go for lunch together. So I think it's important that we break them up and then so that they get to meet other people in the class. But there are also other opportunities for the students to interact with other people. Like for example, the house systems. They actually get to interact with people from the house. So the house again is not made up of people from the same team, but different teams will. Members of the different teams will make up the same house. But the house, I think, is throughout all 5 years. They don't change. We don't change your house, but your teams are changed. So in every year you change and your team. Okay, this is a question directed to myself. What's the difference between the LKC Medicine and Yonglin program? And well, I think for all the medical schools in Singapore, our outcome is very clear. We want to ensure that the doctor that we graduate is fit for purpose. That means they can actually go into the hospital, go into the clinics, and then work as a junior doctor from day one. Maybe I will just highlight a few differences between the two programs. So number one, our pedagogy is a team-based learning pedagogy, which means that the students are expected to do their pre-reading before coming to class, and then they are expected to come to class to participate. So that's something that's a little bit, I think, different between the two programs. As for similarities, I think the similarity is that they also do the clinical years in 3, 4, and 5, but one area that we may be a little bit different is that our final MBBS exam is a little bit earlier. So we do our final MBBS in January, and then we have the student assistantship program at the end of year 5 to actually prepare them for work as a junior doctor. I think Yonglin has the same program, but it's before their final MBBS exam. Right. So I think the outcomes are the same. I think there are certain differences. You can actually go to the websites of both schools. You can have a look. But I just highlighted two differences. Right. This one is interesting to both of you. Why did you both choose LKC Medicine?
I'll go first.
Oh,
you go first. You go
okay.
first.
So senior, go first.
Okay, so frankly speaking, I came to LKC Medicine because I didn't really have a choice to, because I applied for. Okay, so I finished my NS already, so I came into LKC. I applied for LKC after I completed my national studies. National service. Sorry, national service.
National studies.
So I think because so there's a reason why I came to LKC. I'm not sure. Do I regret it? No, because I came to LKC after knowing that I wanted to pursue a medical career, because at the start I'm as typical students, I would say, because parents keep telling me to apply for medicine, then I just applied for NUS in my first year after I graduated, so it wasn't something I really wanted. Yeah, I'm not sure. If you're worried whether I think the main thing the main reason, one of the main differences I feel between the two schools is that LKC has a strong emphasis on self-directed learning. So if you are someone who do not do well with lectures, let's say, then you may honestly seriously consider coming to our side. It's a lot for some, because I personally like to study by myself, have my own timetable and schedule, and this style really suited my learning lah.
Yeah, actually similar to Yuan. Actually, why I chose LKC is because of the online lectures itself. So I find that for physical lectures, sometimes if I miss a few words from the lecturer, it's very hard for you to actually ask him or her to repeat what he or she said again, because in a large lecture setting. But whereas for online lectures that we actually listen to when we do our own preparations, I can actually rewind the video again, and I can actually hear again, and I can actually jot down notes properly, and I can hear it multiple times. And yeah, so it gives me a lot of flexibility to how I learn, and it actually accommodates to a lot of different learning styles as well. Yeah, which I think like why LKC Medicine is actually better for me.
Just for to put things to perspective, it doesn't mean that there's no interaction with the faculty.
Yeah.
Even though there's no lectures, we have a lot of interaction with the faculty, and there are many opportunities for us to actually keep an eye on our students. Right? Okay, so how many will be selected for MMI this year? I think based on previous years, we select about 400 plus. Yeah, about 400 plus for MMI. So I think that that would be about the figure this year. It will change slightly, but it'll be about 400 plus. Ballpark figure will be about 400 plus. Okay, the next question we have is, do our graduates only serve NHG after graduation, or could they join SingHealth or NUHS in the future? So maybe I'll just talk a little bit about what happens after graduation. I think you'll be interested to know. After graduation, from LKC Medicine, our students have to serve a 5-year bond. So for the first year, they serve what we call a postgraduate year 1, or previously we used to call it a housemanship year. This is the year that they will be serving in the hospitals, but it's not necessarily in one cluster. It could be any of the clusters. So our graduates have been working in all 3 clusters. After graduating from medical school, you need to do the 1 year before you can be registered with the Singapore Medical Council. So you need to pass that year, so to speak, and then you'll be registered with the Singapore Medical Council. After that, you will not be you won't be part of LKC Medicine. You will be our alumni, and you will join this Ministry of Health Holdings, which is called MOHH, and then you will be the students or the graduates will be posted to different hospitals, depending on MOHH manpower needs. Now, if during after graduation, you can also apply to do postgraduate training, so what we call the residency program. Now, so let's say I'm a family physician, so if you are admitted into, let's say, the family medicine residency program, then there are fixed rotations that you need to do at different settings. So it may be it's more fixed if you are a resident, right? So the short answer is that they will be working at different places, but again, depending on what they are doing at the point in time. So the other question is, so far 2 batches have graduated. How competitive are our grads in competing for residency? I think we have about 30 to 40% of our graduates joining residency. The residency is a competitive process in the sense that you will compete with all the graduates from the other medical schools to go into the specialty of the choice. So I think we are doing very well. I think feedback from the institutions, feedback from colleagues, feedback from people that around, I think our graduates are doing well. I personally have no concerns about that. How do the clinical rotations work? Do students get to choose where they go? So I presume this question refers to when you see year 3 or 4 medicine and surgery, right? The clinical rotation works by us deciding where would be the best place for the student to be for their clinical posting. So for example, let's take year 3 medicine, general medicine, for example. The students will be posted to the hospital where there's the unit with medicine, and also for the department to be able to host our students. And generally, the students have no choice where they get to go. And that's the reason is because when they graduate as doctors, they also won't have much choices where they will be working at the start as a junior doctor. So no, there will not be a choice of where to go. So unfortunately, if you stay in Jurong and you are posted to Sengkang, then you have to make the long travel down to Sengkang for your clinical rotation.
My bad.
Has that happened to you?
Yeah.
So, which was the furthest posting that you had to travel for?
Mine is Sengkang.
I
stay Woodlands, but it's not so bad. I've my batchmate. My friend, she stays at the Bukit Timah area. Then she has to go to CGH. Seniors stay in Woodlands, going to CGH also.
Yeah.
So it's
CGH is Changi General Hospital, yeah. So I guess that's one of the trait of medical students, somebody who's very resilient and able to wake up early and travel to the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay, it has been mentioned in the media that there are efforts to even out the ratio of admitted medical students based on schools. Does this mean that each school now has a quota on how many students can be admitted So for example, certain schools are only allowed a maximum of 50 students. No, as far as I know, all candidates are treated equally. You go through the same selection process, you put in your same scores, and then we will just select the best candidate that we think is suitable for our school for LKC Medicine, and we don't look at the schools that the students are from. Okay, we're looking for some more questions that are coming up. Are there any overseas opportunities? I understand that there was a visit. Okay, so yes, there are overseas opportunities. I suppose what you mean is by it's part of the school program. In year 2 and year 4, in year 2 there's a visit to Imperial by some of the students. I think this Yuan has mentioned, and then at year 4 there's Imperial College actually takes a lot of our final year students for their overseas electives. What's the criteria for Imperial exchange selection and the top? Maybe I'll ask Yuan, what are...
Okay, so what my batch was told at least is that actually it's quite a fair process, and so the entire selection for this trip is based purely by an essay that you write. So you write an essay, you take your time, you think what you want to say, and you submit the essay to the Imperial site. And I think the students over there will read the essay, and based on what they saw, then they will select the students. So these essays are all anonymized, so there's no names inside just in case somehow it distorts the whole selection process. So it's very fair. As for any traits, so along the same line, no, I don't think they're looking for any specific traits. I'm not sure what they're actually looking for in the selection process. Like, it's just based purely on an essay. I think just show that you're just show who you are, then I'm sure then they will, if they like what they read, then they'll choose you lah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I think we'll cross the bridge when we come to it. If you happen to be in LKC Medicine and you are keen to go for the exchange program, I think we'll give you a briefing and then to give you more details of what you require from you, right? Okay, one more question. Oh, this is an interesting one. I think this the person who asked this question says he or she wants to be a psychiatrist, but not sure whether he can handle, or she can handle the side of surgery. Do you think it's possible for me to attend medical school? Okay, so if you look at the LKC Medicine Program, you will see that, oh, you are going for Obs and Gynae, you are going for psychiatry or even medicine and surgery. We are not training you to be an obstetrician or on graduation or a psychiatrist on graduation. We are equipping all our graduates who will be working as junior doctors in the healthcare system with the basic knowledge required for the different specialty. So you will be doing surgery, you'll be going through surgery rotation, the posting or the medical posting, but more at this medical student level. So I'm sure that generally most students that we choose would be able to handle the different rotation, learn the required learning outcomes that they need to know for their specialty. Only after they graduate, then if they really want to keen to do psychiatry, then they will go through and apply for the psychiatry residency program. And I may be wrong, but I think generally psychiatrists do not do any surgery. So that's something that you can be reassured about that, right? Can you share more about the typical timetable?
You go first.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so okay, the question is, could you share more about the typical timetable for LKC Medicine students? So I'll be taking the preclinical years, like year 1 and 2, what is the normal schedule like? So typically, actually every week our timetable will be different. And typically it's only 3 to 4 days. Yeah. And fun fact is that we actually start classes at 9 and we do end latest by 5. Yeah. So all the classes will not exceed 5 p.m. Yeah. Except for hospital or polyclinic weeks, which when the doctors actually tell you that, they need you to be there by 7 a.m. So that is an exception. Yeah. So I tell you already, there's a lot of every week is a different timetable. So there's really, really flexibility to choosing whatever you want to plan to do. Yeah. So about clinical years.
Our clinical is a lot more structured, I would say, because there's a lot of content that you have to fit in a timetable. So typically, I think your day will start early as maybe 7 to 8 a.m. based on what time the doctor wants you to reach, and then you will follow doctor probably all the way until about evening time. Then you go home and the cycle repeats. That's for own time. That's for the school's timetable lah.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize the session. I think we talked about our curriculum. We also talked a little bit about the admission process, and we also got our students to share their experiences at LKC Medicine. I think what's heartening to note is that we actually 10 this year. We started planning in 2009. We had our first cohort in 2013, and we are seeing our first two batches of graduates working with us in the hospital. So I think we have achieved a lot in the last 10 years, but we are still learning. I think there are things that we know that we can do better. So I think one example is that during this period where we have our students now not going to the wards, how do we leverage on e-learning to ensure that they receive the learning that they need to do while waiting for the situation to stabilize so that they can go back to the hospital and to the clinics. Yeah. Okay, so I think we'll have to end the Q&A session today. So please DM us on Facebook and Instagram, and we will answer your questions. And if you're applying to NTU this year, applications close on the 19th of March 2020, and we hope to see you at LKC Medicine. Right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.